to go back.
Red Bull has been planning something for quite some time, and with Daniel Ricciardo replacing Nyck DeVries till the end of 2023, is this an important change only for AlphaTauri or for Red Bull too? Let's find out and stay tuned as we reveal some latest news. On Tuesday, Daniel Ricciardo took to the circuit with the RB19 for the latest Pirelli testing relating to tire specifications without tire warmers, resulting in the fastest time 7 degrees cooler than the maximum. Verstappen's pole position is a huge improvement over last weekend's speed, which would have placed him 8th in qualifying on Saturday. I'm excited and can't wait to get back on track with the Red Bull family, the new AlphaTauri driver said. Marco's decision to send DeVries away serves as a warning to evaluate their Opera performances, while Red Bull aims to downsize their academy and build a dream team. It's worth noting that DeVries was initially brought in due to a lack of young talent in the Red Bull program. His experience was seen as a compensatory factor for the loss of Gasly, and his impressive performance in Monza last year convinced Red Bull to take a risk on him. The addition of Daniel Ricciardo will significantly benefit AlphaTauri, and it aligns with Red Bull's efforts to improve its current driving lineup. Christian Horner remarked, "It was great to see that Daniel hasn't lost any of his form despite being away from racing. The progress that has been seen in the simulator has also been transferred to the track. His times during the tire tests were extremely competitive. We are delighted that he can spend the rest of the season on loan at Scuderia AlphaTauri." Sergio Perez's sudden decline in performance this season has raised questions about its cause. What has actually happened to him? Red Bull has publicly stated its support for Perez and currently has no plans to replace him. Perez is under contract with the team until at least the end of 2024. His position might be secure this year, since Verstappen's dominant performance puts Red Bull in a strong position in the Constructors' Championship, and there are no immediate external candidates for Perez's seat. Surprisingly, Red Bull has not given a specific reason, publicly or privately. In discussions last month in Spain and Canada, Horner mentioned the pressure Perez was facing and how he might have been putting too much on himself in his pursuit of becoming a champion. He advised Perez to ease the burden on himself, implying that the poor performance could be linked to the difficulties he was experiencing under the weight of expectations. Horner acknowledged that drivers sometimes struggle to pinpoint the exact reason for a sudden dip in their performance. While it is possible that Red Bull might discover a hidden chassis defect, he deemed it unlikely to be the cause of the consistent underperformance in 5 consecutive races. Both Perez and his team manager discussing a recurring pattern in previous incidents, coupled with Perez's engagement in simulator work to address the issue, indicates that the problem lies in how Perez is approaching his driving with the RB19. While it made sense to some extent, it was acknowledged that Verstappen's exceptional skills in this aspect make him stand out as a sensation on the track. Despite the challenge, Perez may have felt compelled to try and match Verstappen's level of driving excellence. However, after the early season races of 2023 that included some unusual tracks, the F1 calendar returned to more traditional circuits like Barcelona, known for its medium to fast, long sweeping corners. Verstappen was well aware of his struggles in the 2022 season, especially during a series of races between Baku in June and Singapore in September, where he lagged significantly behind Verstappen's pace. This season, Verstappen's true talent would shine through. Verstappen's driving style, with a focus on getting the RB19 back on its nose, allowed him to avoid prolonged waiting times to accelerate in many corners. Although this approach provided rear instability, it enabled him to maintain a better flow and avoid unnecessary delays in corners. Attempting to replicate or improve on Verstappen's driving style has taken Perez out of his comfort zone. Perez has always excelled when the car's front grip or understeer is limited, as he possesses an exceptional sense of the slip angle of the rear tires. and skillfully modulates the throttle to avoid unnecessary wheel spin that can overheat the sensitive Pirelli rubber. He thrives in low-speed slides that understeer creates. This explains why Perez performs exceptionally well on street circuits, as they demand more from the rear tires than the fronts and typically require a setup with some degree of understeer to maintain the rear tire's temperature within an optimal range. When transitioning to traditional circuits with a mix of cornering demands, higher speeds, and tougher tires, the dynamics and trade-offs change. In such situations, drivers like Verstappen, who excel at dealing with oversteer on turn entrance, use their braking technique and car setup to avoid overloading the outer front tire as they navigate through longer, high-loading corners. Verstappen's skillful management of oversteer and his ability to handle these challenges with precision make him a formidable competitor in such conditions. It's an important reason why Verstappen easily crushed Perez in Miami, where the front left tire was the primary limiting factor, and now heads to Barcelona, where the front left tire is once again the main restricting factor. Given what was to come, 2 triumphs on street circuits, a loss in Bahrain, and a humiliating failure in Miami would have weighed the most heavily on his mind. Perez found it challenging to change deeply ingrained habits developed over 13 years in just one weekend. As a result, his performance suffered, and Monaco was particularly disappointing. The unsuccessful attempts to perform outside of his comfort zone led to a loss of confidence, compounded by the tricky conditions that magnified every incorrect driving input. Red Bull's lack of evident development or setup changes further contributed to Perez's struggles. Horner believes that Perez's current battle is mainly with himself, as he refuses to accept a submissive role to Verstappen and prefers to press on for a world title with a competitive car. Red Bull has a vision to create a dream team in 2025 or 2026. Liberty Media, the organization that oversees Formula One, is also keen on encouraging top teams to have 2 highly competitive drivers to increase the excitement of the sport, even if one team dominates the competition. To address the issues of repeating seasons like 2020 and 2021, which can become monotonous despite rule changes, Liberty Media sees the idea of having 2 strong drivers in each team as a realistic way to maintain competitiveness and keep the show thrilling for fans. Additionally, Red Bull plans to make their driver development program, the RB Academy, more efficient by streamlining some aspects of it under Mintzlaff's leadership. This strategic shift also means that AlphaTauri, Red Bull's sister team, will become a true arrival team in Formula One, rather than just serving as a stepping stone for drivers passing through the ranks. So that was all the latest news from Red Bull backdoors, and it doesn't seem like ending here. Do let us know your thoughts in the comment section below.